Hi there. I'm going to keep my sunglasses on, sorry, because I can't actually see because the sun's right in my face. Yeah? Is that better? Right. Hi, as I said, my name's Vanessa. I'm a registered nurse and came into nursing later than a lot of other people did. So after caring for both my parents, and they died in their 40s, I decided to start nursing. I qualified about 10 years ago, which is quite a significant number with this pay campaign. I was one of the lucky ones. I didn't have to pay university fees, and I graduated in 2011, aged 42, and immediately began working in a nurse-led unit. It was an acute unit, and I worked with some wonderful doctors and nurses, and that's where I learned my skills. I learned to craft them and to hone those skills that I have. I became very proficient in the care of unconscious and intubated patients. Skills usually attributed to anaesthetists, but my unit is actually nurse-led, which is quite unusual. I love my job, and not a single day went by where I didn't feel I didn't want to go to work. That all changed last year. On February the 26th, 2020, I volunteered to be the first of our team to help out in critical care, as I knew this was something we would all have to do eventually. We were planning for it. We'd been watching the news coming from Italy, and we had contacts in London telling us what was happening there, and we knew we were just a couple of days behind them. Several hours later, it became apparent I would not be working in my department for some time. What we'd heard going on in London was now going on in front of us. I did return to my department just for a few shifts back in August last year. I wasn't the only one who answered the call. Our post-op, theatres, anaesthetic rooms all filled rapidly with intubated COVID-positive patients. Days, nights, weekends all became one. There was no difference. There was no let-up. Staffs worked way and above their usual hours and expertise. I found myself one night caring for 3 critically ill patients, one of whom was a long-standing colleague of mine. I prayed all night that I would make it through, that he would make it through. How would I ever go back into work knowing that I would somewhat be responsible if he didn't? This man who everyone knew, many loved. This was Easter 2020. We didn't have a clue what lay ahead of us at that time. I've cared for hundreds of patients since. Some were friends, some were colleagues, many were strangers. But so many of them I remember, the names, the beds they were in, the little things such as the name of their pet or the pictures of their families, and of course the phone calls their loved ones made. These calls were important for the families who are unable to visit, yet so hard for us, the doctors and the nurses. We could hear the love and the desperation in their voices, the voices of husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, children and grandchildren. Some chatted, some sang, many prayed. The nurses unable to hold back or wipe away the tears misting their PPE masks. We carried on, giving drugs, recording observations, monitoring blood results, clearing airways and trying to keep our patients alive. No one who hasn't been in that situation could ever imagine what it's like. When asked, I try to explain in simple terms to people how we usually have 10 ITU beds and we went up to over 60 in a couple of weeks. How patients are usually nursed one-to-one with an ITU nurse at every single bedside. But we had nurses from every department redeployed to care for more critically sick patients than ever before. Theatre blues, plastic boiler suits, theatre hats, surgical gloves, shoe covers, goggles, FFP3 masks, aprons and yet more gloves became our new uniform. Our faces became battered and bruised, skin broke out in spots from wearing the masks all day, and pressure ulcers developed on our noses and our ears. We were broken physically and soon emotionally. Thursday evening saw public support through doorstep clapping. Bunting was hung in streets and shops and businesses hung thank you signs in their windows. These little gestures kept us going. They gave us hope. They showed us that people cared, even if they did not truly understand what was going on, and how could they? People called us heroes, but we're not heroes. We're nurses, we're doctors, we're support workers, healthcare assistants, domestics, porters, dietitians, radiographers, and everyone else that makes up the NHS. We're mums, dads, sons, daughters, cousins, wives, husbands, partners and friends. We are people. We have lived outside the NHS, we've got lives outside the NHS, we've got families to support, mortgages, rent and bills to pay. Many have faced financial struggles over the last year, with spouses and partners being furloughed or losing jobs. So although we worked through, many of us have been hit financially. The 12% pay rise that the government kept telling the public got was all lies, it wasn't true. I'm at the top of band 5, I can't go any further, there's a glass ceiling unless I go out of my role and into management. So I got £500 a year, that was my pay rise, not 12%. That's the majority of pay rises nurses got. We did not all get 12%, and 1% is just not going to cut it this time. We were all there for you. We were all there for you, as we have been for the last 73 years. But will we be there for you for the next 73? Will we even make it for the next 3 years? That is up to you. Without pressure being put on decision makers, they will continue to break us down, give us insignificant, demoralising and unjust pay rises. We need to fight for a fair pay rise. We need to fight for ourselves. We need to fight for each other. And most importantly, we need to fight for the NHS.